celebrating this first night. The last word with Lawrence O'Donnell starts right now. Good evening, Lawrence.
Hey, Chris, we have Harvard Law professor Lawrence Tribe standing by to talk about what was the big news of the morning at the Supreme Court. And of course, we'll begin tonight with the big news of the night, Donald Trump announcing nothing we didn't already know.
That's exactly. I think that's an incredibly appropriate headline for that. I really was like, is it really going to be like this the whole way through? And indeed, it was really like that the whole way through.
You know, the idea is if you ask for network time, you're supposed to tell us something we don't know. But that's not the way it went tonight.
No, it's not.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you. Well, tonight, Donald Trump officially surrendered in his war for control of the Strait of Hormuz. Last night, we reported to you that Donald Trump said yesterday that the Strait of Hormuz would open as soon as he ended his war. In other words, Iran would open the Strait of Hormuz as soon as Donald Trump gives up. And tonight, after saying, quote, "We are going to finish the job," end quote, Donald Trump said it is up to what he called the countries of the world to open the Strait of Hormuz now that he has completely failed to do it after threatening military power that he would use to open the strait. Here's what Donald Trump actually said. The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. Those are surrender words from Donald Trump on the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump insulted the intelligence of every one of his voters and supporters tonight, and he insulted the commitment of every member of the American military involved in Donald Trump's war by calling his war, quote, "that little journey to Iran." No president of the United States in our history has ever demeaned military service in war by calling a war a little journey. And Donald Trump blatantly lied about the reasons he launched his war. Donald Trump said that Iran was on the verge of obtaining a nuclear weapon and using it against the United States. He said, quote, "they were right at the doorstep." That is a Trump pathological lie. Iran was not close to being able to manufacture a nuclear weapon, according to intelligence officials. And the other component lie in that statement is that Iran was somehow developing a nuclear weapon at high speed. Iran has been working on the possibility of obtaining a nuclear weapon slower than any country in history that has actually obtained a nuclear weapon. The last country known to have developed a nuclear weapon was Pakistan, which did it in complete secrecy without any intelligence agency in the world knowing how close Pakistan was to developing a nuclear weapon until they did a nuclear weapons test, a mountain range. Then the world discovered it. Donald Trump spent 19 minutes saying nothing that he has not already said. There was no reason for the White House to request broadcast time for this speech tonight, and the networks now know there was no reason to give that time to him because there was literally no news, which is the entire point. News of giving the president time on networks to address the nation. He once again issued his threat to Iran that if Iran does not make a deal with him, without saying what a deal would be, he will commit war crimes he has previously promised, destroying civilian infrastructure, including electricity supply. But he also promised Americans and the people of Iran that his war in Iran would be over in the next 2 or 3 weeks. All the breathless media coverage of the possibility of what the press likes to call boots on the ground was proved to be utterly pointless tonight when Donald Trump made it very clear that all of his troop movements, which he never even mentioned tonight, have just been phony stunts with no intention of actually giving those troops a mission or an objective in his war in Iran. Donald Trump did not say a word tonight about Iran's uranium stockpile that he has previously said was an objective of his war. Donald Trump and his administration have suggested that they might send in Marines to somehow get in there in the middle of Iran and grab the uranium supply and get it out of the country and somehow pull that off and still be alive. But yesterday, Donald Trump said he no longer cares about that uranium supply anymore. And tonight, he did not say a word about it. Donald Trump has said to individual reporters that the uranium supply is buried deep underground and Iran will have trouble getting to it. And now, Donald Trump isn't making even the slightest noise about him and his forces trying to get to it. Donald Trump did not repeat his claim made today on social media that the Iranian regime, quote, asked the United States of America for a ceasefire. Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs denied that, calling the claim false and baseless. The Wall Street Journal reports Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said the Strait of Hormuz remains firmly under its control and dismissed what it described as performative actions by President Trump after he called on Iran to reopen the vital waterway and said he would bomb Iran back to the Stone Age until it did so. Donald Trump has withdrawn that particular threat to bomb them back to the Stone Age, but he issued another threat tonight to bomb them back to the Stone Age if they don't agree to a deal. They didn't do anything in response to his last threat to bomb them back to the Stone Age, so you can imagine what they will do with Donald Trump's new threat. The head of the Iranian parliament's National Security Commission replied to Donald Trump on social media, "The Strait of Hormuz will certainly reopen, but not for you." And today, the average national price of gasoline jumped to over $4 to $4.06. In a new polling, Donald Trump has fallen to an approval rating of 35%. And so tonight, a failing president lied about why he started a war and admitted he is going to give up without solving the problem his war created, which is Iran's blocking the Strait of Hormuz. He threatened to commit war crimes against the people of Iran while also promising to quit his war in 2 or 3 weeks. This was Donald Trump's way of announcing his surrender in his own war. As Donald Trump's support among Republicans collapses, polling shows 61% of Americans think that the old man we saw speaking tonight there from the White House is becoming more erratic with age. Donald Trump's second grade music teacher would quibble with that and tell you that Donald Trump started becoming more erratic with age when he reached the age of 7 years old. Donald Trump proudly tells this story in his first book that was ghostwritten for him. Quote, "Even in elementary school, I was a very assertive, aggressive kid. In the second grade, I actually gave a teacher a black eye. I punched my music teacher because I didn't think he knew anything about music, and I almost got expelled. Almost, but of course, his rich father got him out of trouble, if anything in that story actually ever happened." Among the millions of Trump supporters tonight who believe Donald Trump is getting more erratic with age is deranged, right-wing hate monger Alex Jones, who knows what it feels like to be erratic.
When your ankles swell up 3 times the size they were before, that means heart failure. And he does look sick. And he does babble and, sound like the brain's not doing too hot. And so we just cut bait on Trump. We need to be sad about Trump. This is not funny. This is not good. But he's gone. And that's it. And all the people rallied around him. You can see Hegseth's freaked out. You can see the press secretary's freaked out. They're being loyal. They think it's the lesser of two evils. And okay, but I just, Trump needs intervention. He needs to take some time off. Trump is in free fall, and that means we're in free fall in the midterms.
When you've lost Alex Jones, when Donald Trump loses the lunatic fringe like that, Donald Trump is on the way to losing everything. Much more reasonable Republicans than Alex Jones have already abandoned Donald Trump because of his war. And now, the president in freefall is completely surrendering in the battle for the Strait of Hormuz. He is promising America and Iran that he will end his war in 2 or 3 weeks. He will leave the oppressive dictatorial Iranian regime in place, the same regime that was in control of Iran before Donald Trump's war. He will leave all of Iran's possible nuclear fuel in Iran. And the only thing he will have to show the American people at the end of his war is a higher price of gas and diesel fuel, which of course means higher prices for everything, and a clogged supply chain around the world. The president, who went to war for no reason, had a lot of explaining to do tonight, but tonight he failed at explaining his war as badly as he has failed at waging his war. Leading off our coverage tonight is Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado. He's a member of the House Intelligence and the Armed Services Committees and is a former U.S. Army Ranger. Congressman Crow, your reaction to what you heard from a wartime president tonight?
Well, Lawrence, you summed up a lot of it. I mean, the double speak was pretty astounding, right? He told us in 1 minute we didn't need the oil, and then we did need the oil. We don't need the Straits of Hormuz open, but we do want our allies to open it. This was not regime change, but it was regime change. We won a long time ago, but we haven't won enough, so we're going to have to bomb intensely for a couple more weeks. It was pretty astounding, pretty erratic, as you say. And all of this is exactly why Congress needs to assert itself and be involved, right? Why a president shouldn't be allowed to do this type of thing without a vote, without authorization, without an appropriation from Congress, and exactly why the system that our framers designed, which is so badly broken right now, needs to be reconstituted.
So his original statement about Iran developing a nuclear weapon was that his war was going to prevent Iran from ever developing a nuclear weapon. Yesterday, because he's acknowledging that he intends to leave the nuclear material there in Iran, yesterday he changed that to they won't be able to develop a nuclear weapon for a long time. And then some other president, as he said yesterday, will have to go back to Iran and do again what Donald Trump has done.
Yeah, because the only way you can actually permanently guarantee that Iran or any other country can't have a nuclear weapon is to have an agreement, a diplomatic agreement that is verifiable with inspections. That's literally the only way. You can't guarantee that permanently through military means, right? Otherwise, you just have to continue to do this every 6 months, every 2 years, every 5 years. And what's wild to me is that the only outline that we've been given by the Trump administration so far, which was a vague outline of the 15 points that they wanted Iran to agree to arrive to a ceasefire, actually are the points that Barack Obama negotiated that we had in the JCPOA. So, more than a decade ago, we had an agreement that was verifiable with inspections, that was diplomatic, that had an entire coalition around the world in support of, that had the IAEA conducting the inspection. He came in, he ripped it up. Then the only thing we had was surveillance and satellite oversight. And now he had to start a war to supposedly move that back a couple of years. And now he wants to go back to where we were under Barack Obama. So $100 billion later, 13 dead service members so far, hundreds wounded, and of course our alliances sitting in tatters.
Yeah, so Secretary of State John Kerry, working with President Obama, achieved what was just a towering diplomatic achievement, the most important diplomatic achievement of the 21st century, certainly, with Iran. Donald Trump proudly at the beginning of his speech tonight announced that he terminated that agreement, saying he's very proud to terminate President Obama's agreement. And then he decides instead of an agreement, we should go to war with Iran and then ask them for an agreement like the one they reached with John Kerry and President Obama. And
That's right.
it's impossible to exaggerate how utterly insane Trump has been on Iran from his first day in the presidency the first time around.
Yeah, I think that's right. But I think the premise here is that Trump doesn't have an ideology, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't care about Iran. He doesn't care about Afghanistan.
Good evening. This is Elder G. You see, I played some of Lawrence O'Donnell, right? So now you see how everything works. You got the prejudiced white people, that's some prejudiced blacks, prejudiced Mexicans, prejudiced Asian, prejudiced Native American. But the majority of the people that brought all that prejudice stuff here is the white male. They brought all that racism here. Yes, people killed each other and tri's fault. Yes, but that wasn't racism. They was fighting for their community. They was fighting for their town. They was fighting for what they was calling their state. They was fighting for their women that other people was trying to get. But this prejudiced white man, he's just pure evil. He's weak. He'll kill you now. I'm not talking about he's weak and not killing you. He's an assassin now. He'll kill you. But he weak in everything else. He weak with women. That's why he's so pissed off. And that's why that prejudiced white man is so pissed off. Because the white women love every other race but them. That's kind of sad, ain't it? The white women love and believe in every other race but that prejudiced white man. That prejudiced white man wouldn't even let that woman vote. That prejudiced white man, he wouldn't even let that white woman or any woman own my bank account. That prejudiced white man wouldn't even let that black woman own land or that white woman own land. Just think about this. You couldn't own no bank account. You couldn't own land. Right? And then when you got married, you couldn't leave your husband. You wasn't allowed. You didn't love him, but they made you stay with him. He wouldn't let you vote. He wouldn't even let you smoke in public. And you was white. All that prejudiced white man want a woman to do is to cook and wash his clothes and have his children. Other than that, he don't need and want her for nothing else. Ain't that kind of sad? They came here and they killed thousands and thousands of Native Americans. And they killed thousands and thousands of Mexicans. They killed so many indigenous people that they had to build ships and go to Africa and hunt down and put black men and women and children in shackles and brought them to America and beat them and raped our women, burned us at the stake, hung us on trees. And they worked us for 240 years with no rights, with no freedom of speech, with no freedom of the press, with no freedom of religion, with no right to bear arms, with no right to read or write, with no right to petition our government, with no rights to assemble. They had the foot around our neck for 400 years now. And God, while they was trying to go to the moon, where they was trying to build nuclear weapons so they can kill God one day, God was raising up the black and the brown people around the world, where the black and the brown people is 90% of the world's population. The Caucasian race all the way around the world is less than 10% of the black and the brown people can wipe you out anytime they want to. We are 90% of the world's population. We don't think like that. We don't act like that. We don't think that we's a God. Or think that we just like a God. We believe that everybody is created equal. Everybody deserves the same opportunity. That white prejudice, man, is a fake, a phony, and a fraud. Now, with social media, like Facebook and YouTube, TikTok, Thread, all the different social media sites that somebody can walk up to the mic or somebody can turn their camera on and people can see all around the world that everything the black people that were saying about that prejudiced white man for over 400 years now, even the prejudiced white people that don't hate, even they know now that prejudiced white man is the most evilest thing in the human race. It's a prejudiced white man. Those people like that is going straight in the lake that burn with fire and brimstone. God tell you who going there. He said, first, Satan going there. And then after that, Satan angels are going there. After that, the false prophet is going there. After that, whosoever love and make a lie. That's what God said. That's what Christ said you need to enforce. And that's what I believe. I chose God. I bow the knee to no man. I respect everybody. I know that God gave us two choices. We can go to the left or we can go to the right. If you go to the left, you're going with the devil. If you go to the right, you're going with Christ. I'm not going to try to stop you from going to the left. Because if the evil people is going to the left and the good people is going to the right, we're not supposed to see each other because we are going in the opposite direction. The Bible tells us if you walk contrary to God, God will walk contrary to you. If you turn your back on God, God will turn his back on you. So God said, like Pharaoh said, so let it be done. I chose Christ. You do your thing over there. I'm not going to interfere with you over there. But if you come over here with the sheep, if you come over here with the sheep, don't bring the goats with you. If you're going to try to bring the goats over here, we're going to stop you. That's what God say. if you try to bring goats among the sheep, he said the sheep must be without spot and without wrinkle. The sheep has got to be above reproach. Either you make the tree good and the fruit good, or you make the tree corrupt and its fruit corrupt. A well cannot bring forth fresh water and salt water at the same time. It is impossible for darkness and light to occupy the same space. Go in your room and cut the light off and watch darkness take over. But go back again and flip that switch. I don't care how many thousands of times you flip that light. Every time that light come on, the darkness is gonna flee. If you is a child of God like you claim. Because I don't know. I'm going to judge you by the fruit that you bear. The Bible tells me a good tree can never bring forth bad fruit. Neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. The Bible tells me, by your fruit shall I judge you. The Bible didn't say I can't judge. It says, I can judge you by the fruit that your tree bring forth. You either going to work with God or you're not. God people is not going to let you put Jesus to an open shame no more. We're not just going to sit there. Because we know now that prejudiced white man is some lied about God. They done misled people for at least 500 years. Trying to tell you what God don't want you to do. At the same time, they playing God. Once again, I'm going to tell you what it says in Leviticus chapter 20. The Bible said, God said, you got to sanctify yourself. That means you got to stop doing evil things and you got to turn away from sin. And then you got to accept Jesus Christ as your own personal Savior. Once you do that and God see that you serious and you're not just running around as a wolf in sheep clothing. God say, if you sanctify yourself and you set your life in order, he said, when I trust you, he said, I'm going to make you holy. I'm going to justify you. I'm going to purify you. And I'm going to declare that you're righteous. And he said, once he do all that, he said that he's going to give you his judgment. He's going to give you his statutes, and he's going to give you his commandments. That's what the Bible says. Now, if you believe that to be true, and you believe all that, then you'll stand up for what's right. You'll stand up for justice. You'll stand up for freedom. You'll stand up for righteousness. See, you can't do no wrong when you stand up for justice. You can't do no wrong when you stand up for righteousness. When you let Christ lead you and guide you in the way that he would have you to go, there is no limit to what you can do. It just ain't no limit to what you can do when God is really called you and set you apart. You can't lose. Even when you lose, you win. Because if God wants you to lose, he letting you lose for a purpose. Because he gives you an opportunity to shine. And when God wants you to shine, you're going to shine. So, this season, I'm just telling you, if you put your trust in the Lord and believe that God is who he say he is, then God will increase you, and God will lead you, and God will guide you in the way that he would have you to go. Thank you.